Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Martin Dreyfus Show. Welcome back to a little bit different a coverage than we usually talk about. I've been hearing about this story for a couple of weeks, but yesterday on PBS NewsHour West, I was responsible for making a VO, which is background video while an anchor talks, about the Florida deputy who killed Senior Airman Roger Fortson. And after rewatching that video about 20 times, I had to edit it for PBS. I just became washed over with anger and sadness and heartbreak. If you don't know the story, we will be watching it, but Roger Fortson, 23 years old, he was an airman in our Air Force, a soldier, was in his apartment off base when a Florida deputy sheriff showed up to the wrong apartment. And when Roger Fortson opened the door, he pretty much was instantly shot 6 times and killed. Now, I will try to do a couple of things in this video. I'm going to try to remain a little calm. Yelling a lot last night about this. A lot of feelings about how wrong this video is. But before we get into all that, I just want to get right on into the news so you guys can be caught up to where I'm at. Before we get into it, please know there's graphic content. It will be blurred out, but you will still see enough that it may trigger you in some capacity. So please just brace yourself for that, and let's just watch this.
When an Okaloosa County deputy pulled into this Florida apartment complex, it took about 3 minutes for him to enter an office.
What's going on? I'm not sure.
And connect with an unidentified woman about an alleged disturbance.
Are they fighting or something?
She eventually took him to the unit 1401, where she believes the fighting originated. That's where relatives say Senior Airman Roger Fortson was alone, FaceTiming with his girlfriend.
Sheriff's office, open the...
Okay, so that gives you a bit of background into this. I guess it might not be the wrong apartment, but the reality is alleged crime of fighting going on in this apartment. I don't think domestic violence or a fight constitutes the use of deadly force by a police officer. I don't think deadly force is rarely ever should be permitted by a police officer. I do not understand, even if you're going to use a gun, why you wouldn't go for non-fatal wounds, let alone in this situation when you're not even sure there's a crime taking place, why you would even be prepared to use your gun. Let's just continue. I'm pretty sure we're about to get up to the part where you need to brace yourself.
Door!
After the deputy identifies himself twice, Fortson opens up the door with a gun visible by his side, but not raised. A split.
Now, is that important? Sadly, it is important. He knew it was the sheriff, brought a gun to the door. That gun's not raised. That gun is not raised. And this is why I don't understand why our police are trained to use lethal force. I don't get it.
A second later,
Step out.
6 shots are fired, and the 23-year-old's life is over.
At any point.
So, the rest of that video is him falling to the ground, saying, "Give me the gun," saying, 3, 2, 1, shots fired, and I don't even remember the next thing he said because it enraged me beyond belief. For a little bit of context on where I stand on these things, I did attend George Floyd protests in both Denver and Colorado Springs. I can objectively tell you during the day they were very peaceful in both cities. At night they were very peaceful in Colorado Springs, and police still use tear gas on peaceful protests in Colorado Springs. Cannot say the same for Denver at night. Denver at night was not pretty. Nighttime in Denver was more of riot scenes. I did not participate in those. I was just kind of out helping people, just kind of witnessing, recording, doing some journalism. But Denver was not pretty. But there was a lot of peaceful protests, and that video is extremely tragic. And this video brings back all of those feelings right back into my soul, because this kid is 23 years old. I literally just turned 24 3 days ago, May 29th, 2 days ago, whatever it is. And so we're the same age, and this kid chose to sign his life to protect us. I get what police do, but they aren't our military. Our military, whether you agree with war or not, and I don't agree with war, I'm not for war, you still have to have the utmost respect for the military. What I said to my girlfriend was, that kid signed his life away so me and you can go eat Taco Bell tonight. And that's what he did. And yet that kid lost his life not to the enemy, not in a war that he was willing to do, but to someone he was protecting, to a police officer, to a civilian, to him. And that breaks my heart. You have to add the racial stuff in. It just adds further to the narrative of racism, which is destroying our country at every end. The lack of love in this country is so sad, and then things like this happen which just make you feel like you lose all hope. A 23-year-old soldier was killed by a deputy. That deputy was fired. I don't know if they're going to talk about it here, because I really wanted to get at the family and stuff, so I'm just going to tell you here right now myself, he wasn't put in jail. He wasn't convicted of murder like the murderer of George Floyd. He was fired. And a lot of times when they're fired, they find their way back to another police department. I'm not a fan of the death penalty. I'm not a fan of a lot of things. This is the first time I genuinely feel like the death penalty should be used. You killed a soldier. What would happen? That's what I was explaining yesterday. What really bothered me was, when an American soldier dies, that's when we really go to war. That's when things really escalate. When an American dies, we care if a foreigner kills an American. But when an American kills an American, we're just okay with it. We just move on. Murder is not okay against anybody. Murder is definitely not okay. It's just not okay, period. But now you're just bringing in even more factors of making it worse. You killed a kid. Yeah, it was a black kid. That makes it even worse. But he killed a kid. I don't discriminate on that. You shouldn't kill children. You shouldn't kill a soldier. He was a soldier. He literally is more of a man than I can say I am. He signed his life away to protect me, and this guy killed him. And I'm trying really hard not to curse and scream. But the fact that there's not protests going on right now, the fact that this guy is not in jail right now, I am at a loss of words for the amount of rage that I feel.
Point did the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Department say we went to the wrong apartment?
The Okaloosa Sheriff's Department has not owned up to the fact that they went to the wrong apartment, as if he did something wrong, as if he was committing some crime. He did nothing.
We spoke to Fortson's
literally
mother.
Dude, how is she supposed to live with this? Her kid is a soldier. Look at the photo, man. This guy gave his life to his country. We took it away from him. He was on the phone with his girlfriend on FaceTime, and we said, he's fine. He's just fired. What embarrassment of a country. In their right mind, why should this woman have to experience this? No mother should have to experience their child dying, let alone being murdered after being what more could you ask of your kid? This woman already had to prepare for him to die in the I can't just...
Mika and her lawyer, civil rights attorney Benjamin Crump, shortly before the video was released.
There's a lot of doubt in my mind because Roger was the only person in his apartment. They said they was answering to a disturbance. Was he fighting himself?
The family's attorney says Fortson's...
What, you hear him yelling on the phone? Like, is it the wrong apartment? Did some woman point out the wrong apartment? How did we get... Because it doesn't sound like anything. Whether it was him yelling on the phone and it was loud in there, nothing at all authorizes the use of a gun. Yeah, he answered the door with a gun. He didn't aim it at the guy. And if you felt the need that your life was in danger, you don't have to use lethal force. Why does every time have to be lethal force? And what I was trying to get out was this mother already prepared her kid, signed up for the military to serve his country. She had to already prepare for her kid's life to potentially be taken in war. I don't think she was preparing for her kid to be at home and his life be taken. We're supposed to celebrate and love and lift our soldiers and celebrate our soldiers, and we treat them like trash. They're homeless. They have mental illness, and we don't help them. The VA doesn't help them, and now we're just taking it a step further. Our police are killing our soldiers, and we don't do anything about it. And this mother, this beautiful mother who raised a beautiful kid, man, that we should all be proud of. If your kid grows up to serve the country, you should be proud as hell of that kid. I'm proud of the kid. I never met him. I have more respect for that kid than I have for most people on earth. That is amazing, and it is beautiful what he decided to do at his age. And I feel more bad for this mother than I ever could, but I can't imagine how bad she feels because she lost her dang son, man. Lost her son.
His gun was a legally registered firearm, and the sheriff's department this morning doubling down that they were in the right place.
I told Mr. Fortson's family this afternoon that they have my word. If this shooting is found to be unjustified, their son's name will be fully vindicated and justice will be served.
As the investigation into the...
Yeah, you fired him. What kind of justice is that, dude? You fired him. He should be in prison for life. Colorado, first-degree murder is prison for life, no parole, guaranteed in Colorado. He killed a soldier. Let's just be real. Why is he not going to prison at all, let alone for life? How naive does the world think that we are? It's garbage.
The senior airman's death deepens. His family says the brother of 5, who was particularly close to his 10-year-old sister, set the standard for how to achieve your dreams.
He wanted everybody happy.
He was a caretaker for you, but he also was trying to show a better path for his family.
He was a role model.
And after that video was released, guys, the family's attorney, Benjamin Crump, wanted to know why no commands were ever given before shots were fired. So based off of that information right now, I did ask the sheriff what the actual sequence was. He referred me to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, FDLA. They are leading this investigation. The deputy involved in this is currently on administrative leave. Savannah, back to you.
All right.
There you go. Why were no procedures used? No comment. Go ask the people investigating us. Dude, I'm an older brother, sister who's 3.5 years younger than me. I try to be a role model. I had my, I try my best to be a role model. This kid was a great role model. This kid set the standard for his family on how to achieve their dreams. And you took that away from not just a mother, from little siblings, from a 10-year-old girl who looked up to that kid more than anything because she's 10 years old and that's her big brother, and you took his life away. I'm not going to keep you here for long. It's just not covered enough in the media. They want to talk about Trump's trial all the damn time. I don't give a damn about that. This is what matters. This is what's wrong with our world. This should be talked about more, and I'm sorry it's not. I'm sorry the media doesn't talk about this more. I'm sorry that Okaloosa County hasn't done a damn thing about this. I'm sorry that the Florida legal system thinks firing someone for murder is enough. I'm sorry that that's all it takes with police. You just get fired from a department and go to another. You have the legal right to commit murder. And I will say the same thing to any officer watching this today that I said during the George Floyd protests. Is $45,000 a year in a handgun worth having to stand next to the people who do this? I don't believe all cops do this, but enough do it that you have taken your time to represent them. You don't have to work there. You weren't born that way. You choose to stay in spite of this. And yeah, I know we need police, but we don't need this kind of police. We don't.